Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, taking issue with Masters of the Universe, the Shard of Darkness. The first issue mostly focused on Evil-Lyn plotting behind Skeletor's back over a spiky chandelier, and Orko finding a magic gem that made him a competent wizard, but clearly also was making him more aggressive. But everyone overlooks that, so it can be a surprise later. Unless this reboot of the character regularly snaps at people when he actually does something right. Issue 2 has a couple different covers, like the wraparound featuring the heroes in front of Greyskull, and the main one of several villains' exaggerated heads watching Heman and his reflections writhe in agony inside a crystal structure. Looks like they threw him into the Phantom Zone with a magical music player that only plays the Baby Shark song over and over again. Our three protagonists approach Greyskull. Its bridge drawn as He-Man notes how awe-inspiring it is every time he sees it. Yes, you can only see sights like this on Eternia. Or possibly the side of a custom-painted van. Man-at-Arms explains that the crystal has existed for ages, originating in a dark and war-ravaged era of the planet's history, long enough that it can be difficult to separate fact from ghost stories. Its ancient secrets are apparently known only to the Sorceress, and has acted as a fortress in times past, offering hope at a time when it was in short supply. I know when I think of the word hope, I think of a giant stone skull with enormous fangs. This comes as news to He-Man, which he finds odd because he can feel the power of the elders within him possess their strength, but not their wisdom. Point goes to Captain Marvel Classic on that front. He figures he could put a stop to Skeletor once and for all, and wonders why he isn't granted the ancient secrets. As they arrive at her throne room, the sorceress says that knowledge is the ultimate power, and even the mightiest warriors can be vulnerable to those who'd obtain it at all cost. That impossible! Me punch good! She's told about the power-enhancing crystal, and tries being diplomatic so a clearly reluctant Orko will fork it over. His discovery is known as a Shard of Darkness, once part of a larger Shakaran crystal that was used long ago to trap an evil force too powerful to destroy. A battle was waged for its power, including humans fighting snake creatures and someone riding a T-Rex. Looks like someone managed to make Jurassic Park work. Good for them! The Shakaran crystal was too powerful to stay on Eternia, so the Elders tried to get rid of it, only for resurgent evil forces to make a play for it, which led to the coveted crystal being shattered. What pieces could be found were gathered and sent through a dimensional rift that very few could penetrate, even though several were lost and never recovered. This newly found shard is likely to attract more evil folk, and the only way to banish the shard to the same unreachable dimension is to fuse it with the last remnants of the Shakaran. So He-Man knows what he's doing today. He'll be guided by the shard, which will glow the closer it gets to the rest of the crystals, and they are likely within the Dark Hemisphere, a land largely unknown even to the Sorceress. He'll also need to go alone and keep this all secret, to avoid interference from power-hungry forces. Or, and hear me out on this, Craigslist ad? No? Okay, how about a bake sale, where the only currency we allow to buy a plate of cookies is a magic crystal of power-enhancing doom. Anyone? The three leave the castle, Orko surprised that none of their enemies ever found a shard left in the forest for so long. But that opens up a great joke about how messy Orko's room is. And by great, I mean not really that funny at all. Anyway, the sorceress knows her stuff, so her sense of urgency isn't to be taken lightly. We go to Evil-Lyn giving some Eternium to Trapjaw as part of a secret arrangement between them, behind Skeletor's back, of course. She hints at how blind he's become, and how she'll soon take over, stating that Trappy can't afford to be found out since he would not survive outside Snake Mountain, and double-crossing her would be the end of him. All I have to do is show a little more leg, and hundreds of fanboys will murder whomever I tell them to. She leaves the lab and then encounters a loitering Tryclops, who obtained the Eternium for her in the first place. Then it's implied that Lyn aided his acquisition, but they never elaborate, so it's a little confusing. He agrees with their garish ally. The witch should be more concerned about Skeletor, and for all her intent on usurping his place, she's yet to offer the minions anything more beneficial. She thinks he's behaving too cowardly, living in their tyrant's shadow while fearfully shirking any opportunity to excel. Klops is actually a big believer in fate, saying his destiny will be revealed in good time. Or maybe bad time because, they're all evil. Lyn considers that an excuse for his lack of motivation, and that this is a chance to decide his destiny instead.
Last time I listened to that advice, I got caught in a pyramid scheme selling outdated encyclopedias. I'm $23,000 in debt to Eternopedia Britannica.
Man-at-Arms drops He-Man as far as he can to the remnants of the wall intended to keep the evil forces within the Dark Hemisphere. He still can't believe that it fell, but admits he should have known it wouldn't hold forever. Muscles then takes a dig at his poor design, then grasps his head as if in pain, before saying the wall did fine holding Skeletor back as long as it did. Nope, no warning signs there. He tells Orko not to worry about using the shard, as it could have happened to anyone. Though he seems distressed, he heads out on his mission, his friends bidding him good journey, and all hoping it goes smoothly.
And it did. The next couple of issues are just him walking around, having a picnic, finding all the shards conveniently in one place, banishing them as intended, then relaxing in a tub while listening to NPR.
Tryclops and Trapjaw are in a cavern working on an elaborate machine, with the latter musing about what it could mean if Evil-Lyn's plan works out. They could each have their own kingdoms, minions, constantly wage war until Randor surrenders, have all the creatures do their biting, and hey, maybe someday they'll find that missing D from the word bidding there. Tryclops points out that warfare isn't that easy, especially since decades of it has laid the groundwork for their current efforts. He even suggests they're as powerful as they are thanks to Skeletor, defying the odds, and he shouldn't be dismissed. Trapsy thinks that's hypocritical coming from someone plotting behind Skullface, and it'd be bad news for everyone if he discovered their plans. He leaves, assured that their witchy co-conspirator won't let that happen, while Triclops' ocular mechanism shifts ominously.
Is that my watch he's wearing?
He-Man has traversed the sands of fire on a disc rider, and while it explains how he moved so quickly, he can't take it across rockier terrain with lakes of lava for some reason. Guided by the glowing shard, he ponders why this had to be a solo mission.
Because that way, they can coax kids to get their parents to buy them action figures of your friends so they'll help you out in your next exciting episode.
How toyetic can you get?
That's when Molten Death suddenly starts shooting upwards and the ground begins crumbling, requiring He-Man to jump from one perilous chunk of rock to another before reaching stable ground again. See, playing Ratchet and Clank for hours on end really does pay off. He starts thinking this was why the sorceress told him he had to go alone, do all the work for her, but realizes this isn't a natural thought, fighting it off as he climbs up a cliff. He figures maybe the air is messing with his head, or maybe it's that he knows the Shard of Darkness is leading him right to Skeletor's lair. He reaches into a very poorly placed pouch on his loincloth for a pair of binoculars to look for a stealthy way inside. He then muses on the power of the shard he's carrying, greater than even his vaunted sword, and figures with all the fragments he could be unstoppable if he used the gem to crush all opposition. Evil-Lyn then appears inside the crystal.
Whoa, it's one of those crystals. I've heard her tunic slides off if you turn it upside down.
It's actually a reflection as the comic ends on a splash page of her agreeing to the captivating allure of the crystal and approaches him with a fairly seductive gait.
Code Red, we have a level 3 fan ship. I repeat, level 3 fan shipping in progress.
While the story has become a bit more interesting by now, it's a little odd that the crystal clearly affects the temperament of those who wields it, but no one really seems to notice the obvious signs. Nor does the sorceress give an appropriate warning about it, since she seemed to know so much about it already. I like the art, very clearly using designs of the cartoon of the time, though for some reason the book doesn't feel as connected to that cartoon as other cartoon-based comics I've read have been. I'm not sure why, because so far it seems about as tame in both dialogue and action as the first season was. Maybe it's because of the art style itself is in some ways a departure, updated costumes notwithstanding.
Tune in next week to see the continuation of the struggle for the Eternian Precious. Maybe Heman will devolve into a scrawny, gurgling imp, Evil-Lyn will turn into a giant fiery eyeball, and Ram Man discovers second breakfast. I'm the Angry Spork, and man have I got issues.